Okay, I'm pretty sure a lot of gamers who are into racing or the racing genre back in the 2000s all remember the Midnight Club series. More in particular, Midnight Club 2, which came out back in 2003. And this was the time where we were pretty much in the golden era of racing games, depending on who you ask, because we had so many legendary racing games that came out in the 2000s, such as Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart Wii, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, Gran Turismo 4. Race Driver Grid, and many others that a lot of people were huge fans of. I believe the Horizon or the Horizon series started back in the 2000s as well. And when we think about games that were kind of in that long list of titles that were really popular back in the day, Midnight Club 2 from '03 was one that was definitely up there, probably higher on some people's lists than others. And you look at a game like Midnight Club 2, and it was a game that was, it was popular on the PlayStation 2 and for the original Xbox console for a short period of time before Midnight Club 3 was released. And then you think about these games and you wonder whether or not it could have worked on Nintendo GameCube back in the early 2000s. But as far as video games are concerned, as far as racing games are concerned, I believe they shined more on the PlayStation 2 or Xbox than they did on GameCube back in the early 2000s, only because when you look at Nintendo games that were popular, they were mainly first party titles such as Mario and Zelda and all that. So if Midnight Club 2 was released on GameCube, like, in the early to mid 2000s, it probably wouldn't have been as successful on GameCube as it would have been on the PS2. In fact, um, I believe the sales for GameCube were not really that great. I believe it sold more than the Wii U, but still, it managed to be one of Nintendo's lowest selling consoles ever, despite having a lot of good games and historic titles come out on Nintendo GameCube. You had games like Metroid Prime, you had games like Mario Sunshine. You had a lot of other titles that was on GameCube that was critically acclaimed, but for the most part, GameCube was just not as popular as the PlayStation 2. And as far as memory was concerned, in terms of how much storage space you had on GameCube was very inconvenient in the sense where when you use memory cards back in the day for the PlayStation 2, they contain up to 128 megabytes of space, while the maximum you could probably get on GameCube was 64 megabytes. So, saving various games on GameCube was kind of like it was kind of challenging, but at the same time, you could buy more than one memory card, but still, it was a lot of money, and it would have been more convenient if GameCube could hold more storage space back in the day, but it is what it is. As far as third party games are concerned, Midnight Club 2 is definitely one of the better racing games from the 2000s, depending on who you ask. But at the same time, it's quite possible that Midnight Club 2 could have been more successful. It wasn't overshadowed by various games that came out on the PlayStation 2. We had titles such as Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Max Payne 2, Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and many others that was on the PS2. And let's be pretty honest. I mean, those were all Rockstar games. Rockstar made Midnight Club 2, and it feels like the games I just mentioned probably outshined Midnight Club 2 as far as popularity is concerned. As far as racing games are concerned, it was definitely outshined by the Gran Turismo series on the PlayStation 2. So, as far as Midnight Club 2 working on GameCube is concerned, it could have worked on GameCube in theory, but in practice, it probably wouldn't have had as much success as it did on Xbox or the PlayStation 2.